Saints 365 is a passion project to glorify God and honor His saints. This project is based upon the book, The Lives of the Saints by Father Alban Butler.
June 7th. St. Robert of Newminster. In 1132, Robert was a monk at Whitby, England, when news arrived that 13 religious had been violently expelled from the Abbey of St. Mary in York for having proposed to restore the strict Benedictine rule. He at once set out to join them, and found them on the banks of the Skeld, near Ripon, living in the midst of winter in a hut made of hurdles and roofed with turf. In the spring they affiliated themselves to St. Bernard's reform at Clairvaux, and for 2 years struggled on in extreme poverty. At length the fame of their sanctity brought another novice, Hugh, Dean of York, who endowed the community from all his wealth, and thus laid the foundations of Fountains Abbey. In 1137, Rainulf, Baron of Morpeth, was so edified by the example of the monks at Fountains that he built them a monastery in Northumberland, called Newminster, of which St. Robert became abbot. The holiness of his life, even more than his words, guided his brethren to perfection, and within the next 10 years 3 new communities went forth from this one house to become centers of holiness in other parts. The abstinence of St. Robert in refectory alone sufficed to maintain the mortified spirit of the community. One Easter day, his stomach, weakened by the fast of Lent, could take no food, and he at last consented to try to eat some bread sweetened with honey. Before it was brought, he felt this relaxation would be a dangerous example for his subjects, and sent the food untouched to the poor at the gate. The plate was received by a young man of shining countenance, who straightway disappeared. At the next meal the plate descended empty and by itself to the abbot's place in the refectory, proving that what the saint sacrificed for his brethren had been accepted by Christ. At the moment of Robert's death in 1159, St. Godric, the hermit of Fincail, saw his soul like a globe of fire borne up by the angels in a pathway of light. And as the gates of heaven opened before them, a voice repeated twice, "Enter now, my friends." Reflection. Reason and authority prove that virtue ought to be practiced, but facts alone prove that it is practiced, and this is why our examples have more power to move our souls, and why our individual actions are of such fearful importance for others as well as for ourselves. Also celebrated on June 7th, St. Claude, Archbishop. The province of Eastern Burgundy received great luster from this glorious saint. He was born at Salins around the year 603, and was both the model and the oracle of the clergy at Besançon, when, upon the death of Archbishop Gervais, about the year 683, he was chosen to be his successor. Fearing the obligations of that charge, he fled and hid himself, but was discovered and compelled to take it upon him. During 7 years he acquitted himself of the pastoral functions with the zeal and vigilance of an apostle, but finding then an opportunity of resigning his see, which out of humility and love of solitude he had always sought, he retired to the great monastery of St. Oyend, and there took the monastic habit in 690. Violence was used to oblige him soon after to accept the dignity of becoming abbot. Such was the sanctity of his life, and his zeal in conducting his monks in the paths of the evangelical perfection, that he deserved to be compared to the Antonines and the Pachomiuses, and his monastery to those of ancient Egypt. Manual labor, silence, prayer, reading of pious books, especially the Holy Bible, fasting, watching, humility, obedience, poverty, mortification, and the close union of their hearts with God made up the whole occupation of these fervent servants of God, and were the rich patrimony which St. Claude left to his disciples. He died in 703. St. Robert of Newminster and St. Claude, pray for us.
Saints 365 is narrated by Rob Roller, edited by Josh Bach, and produced by Our Local Parish Productions. Funding for this project is made possible by Catholic businesses. Please go to the business directory at ourlocalparish.com to support these generous businesses. Thank you for listening. God bless.